just
full game.
started.
Oh,
I got
there's a bingo
another.
here. There's a bingo here. I see it. Oh my God. There is a sticky S Collins only bingo in this rack. This is going to be a very tough find for Lukeman here. If he makes this
What?
play, I will be amazed. It's been pointed out in the chat by Sidewinder. Let's condition. This is well off the beaten path in terms of words that you would ever use. And have
Wow.
a state of extreme nervousness. So this is
Wow.
a very, very low probability, obscure word that is only in the International Dictionary. If Lukeman comes up with this, that will be incredible. He will be in rare air if he does. So let's see.
That's insane. I mean, living in Montreal, the Habs is the name we call the hockey team here, the Montreal Canadiens.
Yep.
Um, so that word looks so funny because I'm just considering, like, I'm just imagining all the hockey players dabbing.
Oh, right. As in make me dab, which I wonder if anybody's gonna do that.
That's an
Um,
insane word.
there it is,
Wow.
Benji coming in. I almost want to see what I'll see what Lukeman plays here, and then I will do my dab appropriately. If he
And
actually gets this down, I will dab like mad.
do I need to do another impression of you? It was redeemed. I don't
Oh,
know if people. I don't know. I think I already
no,
did
it's
one.
okay. Yeah, it
Yeah.
already was done. Dr. Beatus, thank you for that request. We may refund you on that. We did have Josh do an impression of me, which was pretty good, I might add. Okay, Daba, that is probably the best non-bingo play there, I would think. But I will do a tragedy dab for no hab dabs in that turn. Here's my sad dab.
Very sad. Very sad, Dab.
That's it. That's my dab. I could have. So I will show you guys what my had he played hab dabs. I lit. It is lit. Mm.
Hmm.
So that's what we would have done there. So
Man,
you're
you're
getting
getting good at this, bro.
two dabs for the price of one. But that play, that's Scrabble, right? Those words, like the odds of ever getting to play that word are very, very low. But as a group, there's tons of those low probability words that for players at an elite level of Scrabble, you learn all of these low probability words as a big group just so that these incredibly rare occasions when you have a bingo available like that that's so improbable, the difference between that bingo and the next closest play is often very big. It can be a big game changer in those situations. But having said that, Lukeman playing off his cue, and we're going to see Alex 10 play a bingo here for sure with this nice looking rack. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
Play
The
yet.
QI play, I think, was a slight inaccuracy. I
You
think it
can
was
have a
better to
U.
play.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it
wonder.
was better to play Burka to the A at least. Keeping the VI blank.
Oh yes, that looks
Um,
pretty good. Um,
but yeah, it was weird that there weren't really any QU words that I saw that were really available there. Could
and
have
just
played
to oh yeah,
quail,
go ahead.
quail underneath Daba as well, I guess.
Right, that's true. But just to follow up on part of why Burka to that A of Daba would have been so good, when Lukeman, you see it now, right? You see that by playing just the Q and the I on that turn, Lukeman he kept BUV on his rack. Very, very clunky combination. You start to, as you play more Scrabble, you start to get a feel for those letters. And I try to talk about it in my videos each letter. Certain letters like the V have terrible relationships with other letters in the alphabet. And by that, I specifically mean there just are not that many words in the dictionary containing a V and a U together. And certainly there are not very many words that contain a V and two U's or a V, U, and a B together. So as you play more Scrabble, you start to get a feel for that sort of thing intuitively, and you do your best to avoid those nasty combinations whenever possible. So Burka on that first turn, when Lukeman played Chi, would have been a big difference for that reason. Hopefully that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay,
all
we
right,
see
game
Jared
continues.
quite quickly. So both players are keeping terrible U combinations. The VU for Lukeman and the WU for Alex right afterwards. So we might not see a bingo for a while here.
Well, there actually is a Collins bingo playable here.
Well,
Um,
that's why I shouldn't say anything about
well,
bingos.
and I think this is one that is plausible enough, or is one that Lukeman will have seen enough. I do expect him to play this here. I expect him to play unwived or unwives off of the M of Etatas. He'll probably feel reluctant about that
Of course, that's what
because
it means.
to deprive of a wife. Yeah, that's right. Great definition. Very, very pithy. Exactly what you would
There you
think.
go. There you go.
And there it is,
Thumbs
right? And
down.
there it is. Okay. I am totally not surprised to see that play go down. Nice play. So Lukeman with a slight
Man.
early lead
We
now.
were trying to make a point about how terrible like VU WU combinations were, and here he is bingoing with the UVW. I mean,
But
I guess
again, that was primarily because he had the blank to help him, right? So the blank can cover up a lot of ills. Um, Certainly, there were many situations where even with a blank, you can draw the VUW combination and not even be close to a bingo. But he just had enough help from the other tiles on his rack, that EIN combination, that he was able to bingo with that nasty combo. So you're totally right, though, Josh. We were talking about this being like, horrible thing to have. But he managed to bingo anyway with it. So
and now it's a really close game. We're really close to that little threshold I was talking about, where if you're ahead by like 15, 20 points, then it's basically an even game if it's your opponent's turn. We have Alex up by 4 points. It's Lukeman's turn. Very, very close game.
yep, nice and even. We like to see that. Always prefer a nice close game to sink our teeth
Probably
into.
something like you can play Kame here, making Jaem and Re. You can play Saime here, making
Saime,
EW.
Saime looks
I like that play.
really. Saime alongside Unwived looks really nice.
So it's a lot of points. It's more points than Kame actually. So yeah, I think Saime would be a good play here, unless I'm missing something.
Um, yeah, let me
I
examine.
probably am.
Nope. Examine reveals that Saime is a good shot above the next closest plays in terms of the points it scores and the leave that it leaves. Um,
So
so I think
CYMAE.
I
I
think
should have spelled it out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, as Josh points out in the chat. And he has a couple different places to play it. The tricky thing about playing it alongside Unwived is simply that it's a little bit hard to see all of the hooks that you have to make.
Oh,
Monk,
I didn't. Yeah,
and
exactly. I
Root.
didn't see that.
So that's not the easiest play to spot, but it scores 43 points if he's able to see it. That play you see in the chat, Saime,
Yeah, I was thinking of
side Unwived.
making EW, but yeah, that's tons better.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I
There
did
are a
miss
bunch of
something.
spots. Yeah, it's Saime there. It still scores a respectable 35 points. It scores 37 alongside Jared too. So he's gotta come up with the word and then see the spot for it here. Um, yeah, we'll see what he's able to find. But if he doesn't generate that play, then Josh's suggestion came parallel to Jared seems like a very reasonable play to make as well. So
There's also Mecha, and AW. That's an option as well
true,
here.
yeah, true. No shortage of good scoring plays here. With these letters, and of course you see on Lukeman's rack CMY. That's 4 letters of 3 points or higher, and they have a little bit of a nice synergy to them because of the Y, right? The Y sort of allows those letters to mesh pretty well together. And it turns out he doesn't play the Y. He plays Mecha, which is a pretty good play, barring the Saime options that we pointed out.
Right.
So what do we see here?
Yeah, this is kind of ugly.
Oh, there. Oh, wow.
No.
Oh, too quick. So this would have been an amazing play through the A of atatism, you had to
Oh, of
see that first.
course.
You had to see that there's a bingo there of plastron, and then you would have to see that the L actually hooks ruble with that weird spelling. So on that previous play of plot, there was a bingo available in a very tricky spot, and Alex made his play really fast too.
I mean, I'm just a jinx machine out here, I think.
Yeah, that's,
Like,
I mean, honestly, I literally was about to say this looks kind of bingo prone, but I don't think there's anything here. So, it
but yeah,
turns out,
Lukeman is low on time. I mean, Alex playing fast, that's a good idea. They put
that's
the
true.
time pressure on, but so I'm not as surprised as Chad is by how fast that was played, but yeah,
Yeah,
you
the time,
gotta sometimes
time
it
is
doesn't work out.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. It is a bit of an underrated source of value in Scrabble to play fast when your opponent is struggling. Um, I think it's taken me a long time to start realizing that the time I spend on a move is kind of a form of value, right? So if you make the second best play, that's a couple points of equity behind the top play in 1 minute. That's better than making the first best play in 5 minutes or 6 minutes. Certainly in a game like this. And Yoik was just suggested by Sidewinder, and we see it goes down. And this may be the second time we've seen Persona.
Wow, that's unlikely.
So two times now in the first 6 games of this event, we've seen the same bingo of Persona. I can just tell you that is very unlikely to see the same word.
And we also saw the same rack in the previous game with
Yeah,
Talon.
that's right. That's true. That's a very good point. And we're gonna see a counter bingo here. There is a playable bingo here in response for Lukeman, and I have every expectation he should see this. Yeah. Oh, good point by right behind you. So in this position, if Lukeman rushes because he has low time, right? He is falling well behind on time. And if he feels compelled to rush and feel that the E hook on Persona is clearly the best spot, he might miss his bingo, but he sees it. He's spots oriented.
Yeah, good find there. It's a normal word. It's a tough word to see over the board. It has a weird arrangement of letters. Personally, I mean, doesn't say much that I didn't see it for a while, but until someone mentioned it.
Just
But
starting
yeah,
a word with O
yeah,
already
just
is
bizarre.
not a normal form, right? At least in that case, ending with ed sort of makes sense, but you would expect it to
Hmm.
start with a T or I don't know, maybe the T mostly. Okay,
No,
Reek. What I
I
don't
don't
know
like
about
that
that
play.
play. I don't know
Yeah,
about that.
but it's good. It's good to. Wow,
Oh man,
wow.
look at that. Okay, insane. Will Lukeman see it again? You
It
have to
would be so terrible if he misses it and plays 13A. Ugh, that
totally.
would be that would be pretty terrible.
Yeah, and you would think that so nazified, you see that nazified is playable through the eye of unwived. I don't think that would be a word that's been expurgated. I
Well,
don't.
this is Collins, but
Oh, it is Collins, right? Never
yeah,
mind. Okay, so we don't have to
we're
worry
we're
about that.
fine. Yeah.
Totally. Yep. Thank you for that. Setting me straight. If Lukeman were to see the 13A spot, he might immediately think to himself, "Oh, that's got to be the right play. How could this not be correct?" You put your Z hooking EE on the board, it's going to score a boatload of points in that spot on top of Mecha. You're going to score 55 points there. And he spots
Good.
it. He spots it for
Okay.
94. Lukeman with the absolute
That's the
hammer right
killer
there.
blow. That's the killer blow, I
A
think.
hammer of a play, 94 points, notified to go up by almost 100.
I've done this before. I mean, no, it would be fine to play for 53. I mean, it's obviously a lot worse than playing
Right.
Nazified,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
the
ultimately,
worst thing about that is that once you look at the game and you see what you missed, it's like, "Oh my god, I played a word and I could have just played like the same word with a few more letters added to it."
Inflected, yeah,
That's
almost like
just
an inflection. Yeah.
that's the worst feeling. That's the worst feeling.
And ultimately, every play, whether a play is good or bad, really is determined in large part by what your other options were on the play, right? Like in a vacuum, playing Nazi at that 13A spot in the lower left corner looks like a wonderful play. It scores 55 points and leaves a nice balance of letters for next turn. The only reason you would consider it to be a bad play is that you have a massive 94-point bingo available. But we should really talk a second as we see Alex balancing his rack with AY there. He's
Mhm.
still going to be in big, big trouble. Lukeman has a nice combination of scoring tiles, and he can close the board or score his way to a victory here. But I want to just talk about Reek a little bit for Alex, where he played Reek for 30, leaving AARS, when
Mhm.
he could have just played AWE and Personae, leaving a really nice balanced leave. The only negative would have been the two R's that he had. And that seemed like it would have been a huge swing in this
Yeah.
particular game. Do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just gonna mention that you don't even have to play AWE, you could just play raw, or you can add the Rs to the play
Totally.
and score 4 more points. So I think Alex was just trying to play fast and put the time pressure on, but sometimes it's important to also see the better play, take the extra second or 2 to see the better play, and that would have helped him a ton. It really would. I mean, we he still had Lukeman still had Fane at 2J for,
Yeah,
like,
I saw
59
that being
points.
pointed out, which is an enormous play. Underneath oriented, you could play Fein, Faine, for 50 odd points, almost 60. I guess if you tack the Dion, you get more than 60. So
Yeah,
that would have been
if
pretty
that's
good
valid.
too. But yeah, big swing there on that turn. And that is the downside of if you push your time edge too much. And if you're going for that time rush strategy, you have to be prepared. Sometimes you are going to make
Oh
decisions.
my god, Sidewinder again with the
Beautiful
amazing
find.
find. I was just looking there and I was like, "Oh, you could play, like, Inter Soda as a joke."
And that, from Lukeman's perspective, that is certainly worth playing. There's no real threat. The triples that are opened up by that are not going to be enough. There's no triple threat after Rise through TR. The T of Atatism and the R of Persona would be an unbelievable find. He doesn't need to find that to come away with the win here. So, um,
Yeah,
but
but that
find
would be amazing. That would just be
yeah,
the style points that Lukeman deserves.
no question. Okay,
Okay,
that's a
Dane
nice
comes
play
now.
though. Dane, where we saw Fane playable. That looks pretty good, scoring 40 points.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
guess
good. You
the
probably
only,
can't lose after that.
yeah, it's going to be hard. It does empty the bag, but that's fine. That ends up mattering too much. So,
You'd
all
have to
right, nice.
score like 100 and like 5 points
Yeah,
here.
which is it's almost hard to imagine how you could get 105 points, even if Alex were to have had a Dane hooking play going down to the triple. Even then, I don't think, maybe if you get one with a V in that good
Yeah,
double
even if
score,
Savers, Savours, was available, which it wasn't because we
right?
know Lukeman had the S, that would score what, 99, and then he would
Come up
get,
just short, yeah.
yeah, he would get 18, so 117, so he would lose by 1.
Wow. Okay. Well, Josh doing math about 1,000 times faster than I could do it to determine that outcome. So I would be sitting here just open mouthed trying to do that addition, but Josh has already provided it. Best that Alex could do would be a 1 point loss with a word that we don't think was even available.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's actually important to do these calculations in game, and that is another thing about putting the time pressure on. Opponent doesn't have time to actually think things through, and they might make a blunder at the end of the game. But if you do have time, it's important when you're ahead by around 100 points. Is look at, okay, do I think is the worst possible thing that can happen? It might not even be a valid word, but what if they put this letter here, this letter here? Then you calculate it and you just calculate that plus however many letters they would get from bingoing out in this specific situation. And these are what these players excel at doing in over the board. But now that we're playing online, I mean, so much of that work is done for you. The score is there, the letters are there, so it's much easier to make those sorts of calculations.
It's very true. Yeah, there is that bookkeeping element of playing in person live that I've actually had debates. I've actually had debates about that. Like, I feel like having all of that stuff taken care of for you, like, and I'm somebody that doesn't miss track very much. Like, I guess I do miss add scores because I'm probably the worst adder of any top player. But I don't miss track hardly ever. And I do feel like I like having the online interface take care of that for me so that I can focus more on what makes Scrabble fun to me, which is actually picking between the plays and finding the words. But I don't know. I've heard rebuttals. Some people really like doing all that stuff in person, and they think of it as like a part of the skill of Scrabble is getting that stuff correct. Do you have any thoughts on that, Josh?
Um, I mean, it worked for you, so you're fine. Um, yeah, it's very there's a lot of elitism, and I don't want to delve too much into it, but I mean, we all are guilty of it at higher levels. But it's basically a question of okay, what skill sets do you have? What can you work on? What can you improve? What do you have over another player? And at the end of the day, like we all have our skills and we have our weaknesses. And Scrabble is a game where you can actually the community is small enough that you can just prepare to play certain people. If I'm playing Will, well, maybe I'll try to make some plays and miscount plays on purpose. You're not allowed to do that. But
Yeah, that's the
but
money strat.
at
I
the end of the day, it's just you strategize, you do your own thing, and if you worry too much about maybe my opponent's weak in this respect, you might end up just losing the plot.
That's true. Yeah, it's a fine line between making those tweaks. I mean, I definitely think there is room to in Scrabble. There is stylistic room to make a lot of plays differently depending on who your opponent is. But then there's a lot of positions, probably the vast majority of positions, where there is a demonstrably correct play that you should always make, no matter what your opponent, who your opponent is or what the situation is in the game. So,
And
uh,
I would like to mention again with the quick maths that I did, the only available play, the best available play after Dane was Savior with the U, and again that would have been the same result. That would have been a loss by 1 point for Alex if he had had that worst case scenario play. I don't assume that Lukeman had the time to figure that out, but if he did, I mean, kudos. That's an awesome calculation. We're just sitting here.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's a lot harder when you're juggling all the other activities you have to be thinking about during a game of Scrabble.